Let me just say this to start out with. You need to work harder on yourself than you do your job. And it's not the norm. Most people try to work harder on their job and think that that's going to increase their bank account, and it doesn't. Start to work harder on yourself. Change how you see personal development. It's a gigantic thing to get better, to get greater at every single thing you do. And I'm not just talking about your business. I'm talking about your family. I'm talking about your church, your community. Everything you do, work harder on yourself. And certainly your bank account will show it. And I want to talk about this very quickly before I give you the gist of this. You need to, I talk about goals a lot, and I do a lot of new agent training. I have done it for 3 years. So for those of you online and for those of you here, just go back to new agent for a minute. Just let that go into your brain. You're just coming on board here. You're hearing people give you a ton of things in a couple of days, and now you're going to go out and start a new career with it. Well, one of the most difficult things to do is to set the appointment. And so I like to make it really an important part of what we talk about. How do you set appointments? You're not going to make any money if you can't talk to anybody. There's 2 ways that we set appointments, okay? So I want you to think about some of this stuff. The first way that we do it is through leads. And it doesn't matter how you got your leads. I don't care if you've got signs up. I don't care if you're using LeadMaster, Top Broker, all of those things put together, and everybody else that you're buying leads from, whatever. It's a lead sitting in front of you. The second way is using Reference USA or A to Z. Or if you're not familiar with Reference USA or A to Z, and you want to really get involved with some beautiful ways to do cold calling, which I highly recommend, then you want to go to careeronestop.org. careeronestop.org. That is actually the back door to Reference USA. So you can get in there without actually having a library card. And when you do that, you set up the parameters. I want to talk to 5 and fewer employees. I want their income to be X. I want to see the name of the owner. I want to see the zip code. I want to see the email. It's all there. I personally prefer cold calling as opposed to using leads. Why? What's the #1 reason that you would rather cold call as opposed to a lead?
Not getting hounded.
They haven't been hounded?
Yeah.
You're exactly right. There isn't 30 people that called them. So I'm really in favor of both. So we're going to talk about both real quick here. What's the things to say? Now, I've been doing this business about 30 years, and I can tell you the words that I'm giving you here are words that do something that's really critical, especially if you're getting involved with the SAMR system, which is what we talk about on Tuesdays. And that is that you're taking people out of their script. Your people out there, your suspects that you're calling, that you're interrupting, all of these business people that you're interrupting, especially if you're recruiting, you have new agents that are just getting involved with this calling, moving beans. I talk about moving 200 beans a day, and people go, "Well, you got to be nuts." Well, I'll tell you what, on Wall Street, it's 500 beans a day, 500 a day. So we're being pretty generous, I think, with just saying 200. But you're interrupting people. You're interrupting small business owners in the middle of whatever it is they're doing. So keep that in mind. What are you going to say to them that takes them out of their script? Because what is their script? Their script is to shut you off, hang up, tell you that they're not interested. They already have the insurance. Thank you very much. I mean, we've all heard it, right? 1,000 times. This is designed to take you out of that script. And so, if I do this right, I'll show you what it looks like. So if you're calling a lead, these words take your suspect out of their script. Hi, my name is Jim Novak with Healthcare Solutions Team. Your name came across my desk today. You were looking for help with your health insurance. What were you hoping we could do for you? See, what that does is it pulls them out of their script. And so they're going to come back with whatever it is. If they just hung up with an angry client, they had an argument with their spouse, whatever it is, they're going to give you some sort of an answer. So somebody give me an answer that you hear if I called you and asked you that, and I just said my name. What is it you're hoping we could do for you today?
Who's this?
What's my name is what we usually hear, right? How'd you get my name? Any of those. It doesn't matter what they say. Instead of starting to answer them, this is the thing I want to show you here in just a couple of minutes. Instead of trying to answer them, you flip that right back around and you just say, I appreciate your honesty. You said, and only say what they said. You asked me how did we get your name? You asked me that for a reason. Maybe you can share it with me. And that's what takes them out of their script. And I don't care what the answer is. I'm sick and tired of talking to you guys. You're the 30th person I called. All of those things, you've all heard it, right? You just simply repeat back to them what they said. You said, I'm the 30th person I called. I appreciate your honesty, but you said it for a reason. Maybe you can share it with me. That's what takes them out of their script. And as soon as they're out of their script, you have a chance at getting into emotion. Sandler says sales are made on emotion, justified on intellect. So stay out of the feature benefit intellect and stay with the emotion. Because has anybody done this and gotten any results? Do you know what I'm talking about? All of a sudden they tell you things that they never thought they were going to tell a stranger that morning about health insurance, and they start telling you. You're the 30th person that called. So I appreciate your honesty. You told me that for a reason. Maybe you can share it with me. Well, yeah, the other 29 told me that blah, 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 blah. And so you bought 29 plans. What did you do? Well, I didn't buy any of them. I wasn't. So you had a reason for that. Tell me what it is. And as soon as they break down and tell you the reason, you got into their moccasins. And the way Sandler says it is, which I totally agree, walk a mile in their moccasins, and all of a sudden they start to feel like, oh, it's okay. I trust you. I trust you. A little bit. A little bit. If you're calling somebody that you don't have a lead in front of you, you're using Reference USA. When I started, we were using Yellow Pages. You remember that? You just flipped to Yellow Pages. I started from Z just because everybody started from A. Just start calling people right out of Yellow Pages. You still can do it today. That's a little different. That's the script that goes like this. Hi, my name is Jim Novak. I'm with Healthcare Solutions team. We're in the business of helping. Now, depending on what type of people you're calling, whether it's carpenters or, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm in the business of helping small business owners, carpenters like yourself, eliminate your deductibles and lower your health insurance premiums. And this is a key. I'm in the business of helping small business owners like yourself, eliminate your deductibles and lower your health insurance premiums. Does that make sense? And by asking the question, does that make sense, as opposed to, are you interested? What do you think their answer is?
No, of course they're interested.
They say it makes sense, right? And this is the question that most salespeople miss. As soon as they have said to you what it is that makes sense, yeah, it makes sense. They'll say things like, lower my deductible, I don't think you can do it, but it makes sense. You just simply flip this right back around and you just simply say, I appreciate your honesty. Why does it make sense to you? And off they go on their script. Their script is gone, and now they're telling you why eliminating deductibles and lowering health insurance premiums makes sense. Before I go any further, any questions here? See, this is critical for new agents. If you don't want the people you work really hard at recruiting to be working at Macy's in 6 months, they need to know how to do this fast. We talk about moving 200 beans a day. You know, a call, an email, a text, that's 3 beans, 1 phone number. You can move 200 beans a day. But you got to do it. Jerry Wolf said it right up front. You heard him say it. He said, you don't want to move 100 beans a day, but you got to do it. Unless you got 50 grand to start your business with, 5 grand to put ads in the paper and go on the radio. We've got to call people and know what we do. And so that's why learning how to do this is really critical. But bottom line with all of it, you have to be having fun. And you're not going to have fun doing this until you know exactly what you're doing and they don't. You know, Kevin's one of my team people, and he's going, right, okay, because he did it. Kevin did it. When Bruce came on my team, I know, a year ago, he shared it with you guys last week when he got his partnership. He was losing his house. He was 2 weeks away from the sheriff's sale. Everything was falling apart, and he had 30 years of experience as a printing salesman, and it was hard for him to buy into what I'm telling you. But he finally bought into it, and it flipped it. In fact, when I talked to him yesterday, he was at Notre Dame in France. In fact, Bruce, we're going to give you a hand. Let's give him a hand. Think about the hardest thing he had to do was what I'm telling you right here. This can't work. I've been doing this for 20 years. I know better. I know how to do this. I know how to get people to get out of their script. Yes, everything can work, but one way is like cutting down a tree with a saw that's not sharp, and the other is using a really sharp saw. This is what I'm trying to show you. This stuff works. It works every day. So the question that most people never ask, I hesitate telling you this because you got to do it right. Let me just, we talk about this stuff on the calls on Tuesday, okay? So you guys can get this on these calls. We really work on this. And on role play this afternoon. And as often as we can do it, you've got to practice this. But when you use this system, when you use just these things that I'm showing you here, you have got to only repeat back to them what they said. Don't add anything. And here's an example. So you call somebody this, I'm just looking for a quote, right? That's a sick statement. We all talk about pain. We talk about money. You've got to have pain. You got to have some money to pay for the pain. You got to find out how you make decisions in your world. But sick is not critical. That's just a sick statement. So when they say, I'm just looking for a quote, you want to take that to critical. And so you have to learn how to do that. But one of the first ways you learn is to repeat back to them only what they said. Don't summarize it. Use the exact words they said. So if they say, I'm just looking for a quote, you just simply say back to them, you know, you said you're looking for a quote for a reason. Maybe you could share that with me. Yeah, I'll tell you why I'm looking for a quote, because and all of a sudden they're in emotion. And I'm not talking about positive, sweet emotion. I'm talking about anger. Sales are made on emotion. They're justified on intellect. Get them emotionally involved. Bring them into your emotional sandbox. And all of a sudden you're playing. Not easy, but worth it. Worth it to do. So here's the elevator pitch. I don't know, how many of you have an elevator pitch? You actually have one, right? You can use it in an elevator. I did it the other day just to practice one more time. Let's see if we have it here.
My elevator pitch is press 3, please, for me.
So I want you to think about, because it's part of the question that you ask someone when you're calling cold. Okay, just simply this. My name is Jim Novak, or hi, I'm in the business of helping. Now, if you don't have to give your name. If you're in an elevator, you don't say, hi, my name is Jim Novak. You just say, I'm in the business of helping small business owners, wherever you are, salespeople like yourself, eliminate your deductibles and lower your health insurance premium. Does that make sense? But you've got to use, does that make sense? And they always answer you. Somehow, does that make sense? Makes them answer.
No.
I know. Nick is always good for this. So Nick, let's say that the person said, no, it doesn't make sense. It's the same answer you get back to them. I appreciate your honesty. You said no for a reason. Maybe you can share that with me. And guess what they do? They go off into their emotion. I'll tell you why. You're the third person that told me, and I said that last year and my premiums went up. That's what happens. But what that does for you is it gets them into emotion. And that's when you say, if you're able to solve whatever that issue is that they bring up, if you're able to solve that problem, would it make sense to spend 5 minutes with me and find out how? If you were able to, would you spend 5 minutes to find out how? See, this is all emotion. We're not selling health insurance here. Now, I know what I'm telling you is black and white, and I know there's gray areas. I understand that. But black and white, especially with your new agents, people that are just sitting down on the phone who weighs 500 pounds, they're really, how am I going to do? And then what happens? You lose them, they go out the door. If they would just learn this, if they would just learn that getting people out of their script in 10 seconds is the key to the whole business. Just 2 minutes for questions and I'll stop.
That last statement,
Yes.
go ahead. Once they say yes.
Well, if you're able to solve that problem, but it makes sense to spend 5 minutes and find out how,
Yeah.
get out your calendar. And do it right on the phone, get out your calendar. It's the only issue. Get out your calendar. Let's set up a time. Yes.
For the new agents starting out that have never done sales, is this then a 2-call or 2-appointment close? That's what you recommend?
Yes, because you want the decision makers on the phone. And now I'll just end with this. I probably went past whatever my minute time was. Won't be the first time I step in, and so what the heck. Let me just say this. All of this, and if you guys have reading Sandler's book, Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar, okay, you're going to find this out. You've got to practice this, and you've got to have the right attitude to even be able to do this. And it comes from one thing, and that is having a goal. And I'm not going to go into a whole goal training here, but I will tell you this. A goal, if you set it up correctly, becomes a magnet. And a magnet pulls you through the crap. And it keeps your new agents away from Macy's in 6 months. And they have stupid goals when they come on board. I ask people, you guys know my new agent training, if I ask people in the room, now I want you to raise your hands. What's your #1 goal for really going for this thing this year? You know what they say? Get out of debt. And I would just say to you, getting to 0 is a horrible goal. But that's where we've gotten to with all the expenses that we have and life, and it tears you down. I understand you all want to be out of debt, but that's not the goal. What would you ever do after that? Name one thing you would do. Bring that up into your head. Get the right attitude. And that will get you to be able to do this, the 200 beings. And then when leaders are working with their agents, if they're not doing it, all you do is change your goal. If your goal isn't pulling you through the crap, get a goal that will. Dump the goal that isn't working and put a goal in that does work. So I will leave it with that. I'll just, one quick thing. Again, Tuesday, this afternoon at 12:30, we're doing role play. Some of this requires role play, right? Yeah, a lot of it does. It requires practice. You guys have had Sandler around here for a long time. You can't just, well, think of the name of his book. You can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar. I can't teach you this stuff at a seminar. You got to actually get beat up. So we beat you up here at 12:30 in the afternoon. And all of a sudden you start seeing that you don't lose your new agents. And some of them might help you guys that have been around for a while. It might help you. So I'll leave you with that. Okay?
Wonderful.